Hey guys, welcome. I wanted to invite you to this video to show you how an average American couple who's 59 years old and really starting to get serious about planning for retirement could create a retirement plan that's just very comprehensive and helps them understand the number one question that most people have, which is, have we saved enough? Are we going to be able to retire? And so in this example, I'm going to introduce you to John and Nancy. If you're ready, let's dive in. The first thing we're going to do is log into the retirement budget calculator. And then here is the model that I built for John and Nancy. So you can see he was born in June 1965. She was born in August of 1965. They're both 59 years old, and they want to retire on June 1st of 2030 when they're both 65 years old. Now, this is something that we see happen pretty frequently, and one of the reasons that people decide to work until age 65 is because that's the year that Medicare kicks in. So if you're going to retire before age 65, you just need to have a plan in place for how you're going to cover those out-of-pocket medical expenses and potentially high insurance costs. And we'll look at that in more detail in just a minute here. The next thing that we needed to do for John and Nancy was provide them with some accounts. So you can see Nancy has a traditional IRA with $250,000 in it that she saved. They have a joint brokerage account with $25,000. And then John also has a 401k with $300,000. And then we created a Roth IRA account that has a $0 balance currently, but I wanted to create the Roth IRA account so that I could show you how doing Roth conversions could have a significant impact on their overall financial plan. They have a primary residence that's valued at $400,000. And they have a car loan for $24,000, and that car loan is expected to be paid off on June 1st of 2028. Now, of course, in the retirement budget calculator, you can customize all of these numbers for your specific situation. Okay, now that we know their assets and liabilities, we want to then look at their budget. So right now, they both have really good income. He's making $3,766 a month, and she's earning that same amount of money. And then we also have them contributing $400 per month to their retirement accounts. He contributes to his 401k, she contributes to her IRA. In retirement, they're going to have Social Security. And so you can see that here under Social Security. We're estimating that his benefit's going to be $2,000 per month. Her benefit's going to be $2,000 per month. And we're going to assume that those Social Security benefits only increase at 2% per year for each of them. And we're also going to assume that they don't start Social Security until age 67, which is their full retirement age. And then we'll also test this and say, well, what would happen if they were to start Social Security at 70? How would that impact their plan? So let me show you that in just a minute. The other thing that's pretty frequent when people have a hard stop to their primary career, it's not uncommon at all to see somebody take a part-time job for the first couple of years of retirement, if for no other reason that they just don't want to be bored or they're looking for the social aspect that work provides. And so we see people, they get a job at the local golf course, or they'll umpire or referee sports for kids programs, or they'll drive for Uber or Lyft, or they'll just do something to make a little bit of additional income. Sometimes people get a part-time job working at Home Depot. Whatever the case may be, in this particular situation, we're going to assume that John earns $800 a month working part-time from the time he retires, June 1st of 2030, until June 1st of 2035, and that income will increase at 3% per year. Like I say, we have them contributing to their 401k and IRA up until the point of retirement, June and August of 2030. And then for housing expenses, they have electric, garbage, water, sewer, and natural gas. That's about $700 per month. And then their real estate taxes are about $400 per month. They currently have a car loan payment of $500 per month. That will be paid off in June 1st of 2028. And then they have food and personal care, which is a joint expense that will be $1,500 per month. And then notice we created this food and personal care expense for the survivor. So basically what we're doing is we're saying at his life expectancy, at the earliest person's life expectancy, this new expense is going to start. So we have this other expense ending when the first person dies, and we're saying that the surviving spouse isn't going to need quite as much money for food and personal care when there's only one person. So we've got food and personal care that's high now, but will drop down when one person passes away. Now this is where we get into Medicare. And for John and Nancy, they both have health insurance that's provided by their employer at 100% of the cost. So right now, they don't really have any out-of-pocket expense for their health insurance expense. But once they retire, they're going to have Medicare Part B for each of them, which is currently $174 a month. And we're going to assume that health insurance expenses increase at 5% per year because that's been the average. So we're just going to assume a little bit higher inflation on health insurance expenses. Then they're both going to sign up for Medicare Part D. That's the prescription drug plan, and we're estimating that that's going to be $40 per month per person. Then they're both going to have a Medicare supplemental plan, often called a Medigap plan, that's currently $230 per month per person. And of course, that's going to be increasing with inflation at 5% per year. And then they both have a Part B deductible that's $240 a year currently. So we have that increasing at 5% per year. We have dental, vision, and hearing expense for each of them at $1,000 per year. So saying, you're probably going to need new glasses, probably going to need some dental work done, and you're probably going to have some hearing expenses at some point. We don't know how that's going to play out, so we're just going to say $1,000 per year per person. And then, of course, they have their homeowners insurance, which is about $100 per month, and their auto insurance, which is about $200 per month. One of the things you'll see is that insurance for a lot of people, when you look at all of the different insurances you pay, it represents a pretty sizable portion of your overall budget. Vehicles and transportation. So it's $200 a month now, and then when one person passes away, we're going to drop that down to just $100 a month. And then maintenance on the car is going to be $1,000 per year, no matter how many people are alive. And then after they retire, starting in 2028, we're going to say that they have a $500 per month car payment, that payment goes up 3% per year. And so the idea here is just to assume that they're always going to have a car payment for the rest of their lives. So that rather than just trying to continually fix older cars, they're just always going to be driving somewhat of a newer car and have less in the way of ongoing maintenance expense. The next thing that they wanted to prioritize was travel. So the kids are out of the house, they're 59 years old, and for the next 10 years, they want to spend $10,000 a year on travel. Then after that, they want to continue to spend on travel, but they're going to drop that vacation budget down to just $5,000 per year. And then they have tithes and offerings that they give of $300 per month. We're going to continue those tithes and offerings, but we're going to say that that does not increase with inflation each year. One of the things that we do in the retirement budget calculator is we estimate federal income taxes every year. So for example, in 2024, we take all of their income sources and we can say that they're going to be in the 12% marginal bracket. They have a standard deduction of $29,200, so their taxable income is $61,000, and that leaves them with a tax of $6,878. Now, when we're doing our tax estimates, we assume that the current tax law stays constant for the remainder of your retirement. And we all know that that's unlikely to be the case. Congress is always tinkering with those numbers. We update the tax code in the calculator every year, but just know that our projections are based on the current tax law. So that gets us to the retirement optimizer. And the retirement optimizer, specifically within the future view, is where you can really look at your retirement plan on a year-by-year basis to see, have you saved enough money? Are you going to run out of money in retirement? So you can see what we're looking at here at age 59. They're both 59 years old at the end of this year. They currently have gross income of right about $100,000. They have deductions of $9,600, and then they also have contributions of $9,600. So they're taking that deduction and they're putting it into their 401k and IRA. Their estimated taxes for the year are about $6,800, which gives them an effective tax rate of 7.6%. Their net income after taxes and deductions is $83,000, and their expenses are $57,800. And so that means that they have a surplus every year. They have more money coming in than they have expenses going out. For the sake of this exercise, I am going to assume that they are spending that surplus, that they're not saving anything additional. And then remember, they have $575,000. In this model, we're going to assume that their money's only growing at 4% per year. So between the contributions that they make to their accounts plus the growth rate, they're going to have about $607,000 by the end of the year. Now, we get down to this green line, and the green line represents the year of retirement. So you can see in that year, they're going to have their income's going to start dropping down. They have a partial year of wages. And then by 66, their income's very low. At that point, all they have is his part-time employment income of about $11,807 for the entire year. So whenever they have $11,800 of income plus the taxes, and their expenses are $88,000 for the year, that means they're going to have to be pulling $81,485 out to cover the shortfall. And so you can see in this particular example, we're saying that they're taking that initial distribution from the joint brokerage account and from her IRA. So they started the year with $820,000. By the end of the year, they have $768,000. Now you'll notice over here that withdrawal rate percentage the first year is 10.6%. And most financial advisors recommend that you have a withdrawal rate closer to 4%. But look what happens, because remember, they're not starting Social Security until they turn age 67. So right here is a partial year of Social Security. At 68, this year would represent when both of their Social Securities have fully been implemented and turned on. And now that withdrawal rate percentage drops down to just 3.9%. So for John and Nancy, we run the numbers down, and you can see his life expectancy is the blue line at age 82, and her life expectancy is the pink line at age 85. And if we only grow their money at 4% per year, and we're increasing their expenses at 3% per year, and at age 75, they start taking the required minimum distributions that they have to take in addition to additional portfolio withdrawals to make up for the difference. You can see, making very conservative assumptions, we get them all the way down to age 85 for both of them, or at her age 85, and she still has $155,000 in liquid investable assets. Now, one of the things that we do is we do assume that their real estate, which is represented by this blue line here, is going to be growing at 2% per year. So if we look down to her life expectancy, you can see at that point she has $155,000 of liquid assets remaining and real estate of $682,000. So their total net worth that would pass on to the kids at that point would be approximately $838,425. Okay, so now that we've got a baseline financial plan built for John and Nancy, let's look at a couple of the different things that they're considering. First of all, Roth conversions. So you can see John has his 401k, and he's saying, what if I were to convert to a Roth IRA in the year 2031? I do 20% this year, 20% 2032, and another 20% of his 401k in 2033. So if we turn that on, you can see making that change means that when we get her down to her life expectancy, now she has $124,000 remaining. Without the Roth conversions, they had $155,000 remaining. So in their case, doing those Roth conversions means that they end up with less money at her life expectancy. The next thing we want to do is we want to say, okay, this is based on all of their spending, but one of the things that we did in their plan, if we come over here and look at the month, so this is their annual budget, but if you look at the monthly budget and then you look down this column for discretionary expenses, you can see that vacations were the one expense that were discretionary. So over in the Retirement Optimizer, we can say this includes all of that travel, vacation money that they plan to spend. If we were to turn this on, where we say only show us the essential expenses and leave out the discretionary spending, now you can see that they get her down to life expectancy and they have $489,000 remaining. So, I mean, the reason that they retired was so that they could do the stuff they always wanted to do, which includes travel. But it's nice to know that if they had to cut back on those discretionary expenses, it could result in a lot more money at the end of their life. Now, again, we base this initial plan on the assumption that they're only earning 4% per year. You can see that reflected over here in the returns. What if we come over to the growth strategy and we say, what if now instead of earning 4% per year, they average 5% per year? And you can see just earning 1% more puts them in a position where now they have $493,000 remaining at her life expectancy. One of the great things about being able to play around with that growth number is it really helps you to understand how much money do you need to earn in order to make the numbers work versus how much money do you want to earn. And I'll never forget one time we were meeting with a person and he said, Jason, you know, if I could just earn 3% per year, he said, I'll be okay for the rest of my life. And his question was, why am I taking so much risk if I don't really need to earn all that extra return? That's one way of thinking about it. The other way of thinking about it, though, is if your retirement is that secure, why wouldn't you just take a little bit more risk to try to earn as much money as possible and know that there's a good probability that you're going to end up with a lot more money at the end of your life? And I think that really comes down to your individual risk tolerance, what you're comfortable with, and really understanding what's the purpose of your money. If you're not concerned about leaving anything or trying to maximize returns, maybe you'd be happy just sticking it all in a money market account or a bank CD, earning a low rate of return, but knowing that there's no stress or no risk associated with that. And that's okay. Different strokes for different folks, whatever you want. Now, I would encourage you, with inflation eating away at your purchasing power, I would encourage you to probably have some of that money working for you so that you could outpace the ravages of inflation. The next thing I wanted to show you is, remember, at a baseline, we have their money lasting until her age 85 with $155,000. The other thing that we could do is say, what if instead of starting Social Security at 67, what if we postponed it to age 70? And now you can see they have $182,000 remaining at her life expectancy. So for some people, when to start Social Security can really be the big difference between whether or not you're going to have enough income to cover all of your expenses. And remember, at the end of the day, retirement's all about cash flow. It's all about making sure you have enough income coming in to cover all of your expenses. We're using Social Security mortality tables to set their initial life expectancy. We could also come in here and say, what if he lives to age 85 and she lives to 92? And you can see in that model, in that scenario, they end up depleting all of their resources down at age 87. Now at age 87, remember, they still have a house. So if we look at their net worth projection, at age 87, they have a house that's valued at $710,000. So she could take out a reverse mortgage at that point and use the reverse mortgage proceeds to continue to live in the house. She could sell the house and move into some kind of assisted living or independent living situation at that point. They've got options available to them, but they've used all of the liquid assets at that point. And then the last thing that we can play around with in the calculator is their withdrawal strategy. So we have it set to a proportional strategy currently, where we're taking from the taxable, the tax deferred accounts first and saving the Roth accounts till last. The great thing about the withdrawal strategy is you can use a conventional strategy that says take your taxable, tax deferred, tax free. You can use the proportional strategy, or you can design a custom strategy to take these distributions any way that you like. The key with all of this is, and the piece that people can get hung up on are assets and liabilities. So they'll say, Jason, I don't have that much money. Or they'll say, I have a lot more than that. It really doesn't matter. The purpose is to show you that you can create a very unique, customized, individual financial plan for your specific situation based on your numbers. The other number that people get hung up on is the spending. People say, Jason, I spend way more money than this, or I don't spend this much money. And so again, try not to get caught up in the numbers of this hypothetical scenario, but rather just know that you have this very powerful tool, the retirement budget calculator, that can help you create a lot of clarity, confidence, and freedom as you're heading into retirement. Now, if you're getting ready to retire, you're also going to want to have a really good investment strategy. If you click up here, Discover Your Wealth Manager, and you'd like to work with me and my team to put together an investment strategy for your specific situation, just click that button and you can start the process by scheduling an initial consultation with one of our advisors. Okay, I hope you found this helpful. Thanks so much.